Hello and welcome to another episode of Wholesaling the Cool Way. I'm Mark Cool and this is my son Jasper Cool. And we do this weekly mastermind meetup talking about our real estate businesses. We do wholesaling with some other alternative strategies, it's a little bit of subject to and owner finance, but we mostly talk about wholesaling here on this podcast. And we work in North Carolina, both of us. We have separate businesses, but we compare notes a lot and try and lift each other up, and hopefully we can help whoever's listening to uh, grow your business as well. So welcome. And normally we'll start this off with whatever we've been listening to or reading for the week, books or podcasts or anything else that's inspired us or that we've learned from. And do you have anything to kick that off with, Jasper?
Yeah. I had this one podcast I was listening to, not finished with it, but it was talking about body language and giving cues, like verbal cues and stuff. And just overall, very interesting podcast. So, one of the things I liked about that one was she mentioned verbal cues and whether it's written or verbal and how they impact your subconscious. And so, one of the things she said is like if you're having a team meeting, for example, literally just titling the meeting differently on your calendar will encourage your team subconsciously to act differently on the meeting. I thought that was very cool. And so, for example, like I've noticed this, some people doing this, whether on purpose or not. But sometimes, if you go to book a call with someone, for example, to learn more about their service, sometimes people will say discovery call, which is the most common, I think. And then sometimes people will say like strategy session or something else. And so she mentioned that it's just saying the word like strategy session or strategy meeting or something like that, or like a goal consultation or like collaboration session, just using those words will encourage whoever's on that meeting to act that way. So I thought that was very cool. That just like literally changing the word. Like if you use collaboration, for example, then your team might be more willing to share ideas and work with each other on that particular meeting. I thought that was very interesting.
That's
But I
great.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I like that a lot. And then another thing she said that I thought was cool was using your hands, even on a setting like on a Zoom call or on our pod, like using your hands so that people can visibly see you, immediately encourages more trust. I thought that was interesting. And she said, like even on their podcast thing, if you have your hands like under a table when you're in a face-to-face setting, immediately the other person doesn't trust you subconsciously. They don't trust you because they don't know what's going on. And in the back of their brain, the whole time, they're like, where's this person's hands?
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. And she said, like, it'll make them not pay attention to you as much because their brain is like half split, wondering where your hands are. And then also it'll decrease their trust just subconsciously, like not consciously, but it'll decrease their trust towards you. So I thought that was very interesting. And she had a cool story because she was like kind of a nerdy kid and she was really book smart and really great at school, but she was really bad with people. And she was just I think kind of introverted, and so she was didn't like being in group settings and stuff. And she said the turning point for her was in college when there was like a group assignment or something, and she was so freaked out like to even work in a group that she went to her professor like after the class and she was like, please, like, can I just do the paper, like I'll turn it in early, all this stuff. And he was like, you got to get over this. And he was like, what if you just studied people like you study science, which was the class they were in. And she said that was like a light bulb for her. And so then she started doing that, and now her course or her program, of course, is called the Science of People. So pretty cool. But
Yeah.
now
That's
she's
awesome.
yeah, now she's crushing it. She said they've already had 400,000 people go through their training. So I thought that was very impressive. And I'd never heard of this person before. So yeah, it was a good one. But it was on the podcast called The Diary of a CEO. So I like his podcast. He's I don't know if he's British or something, but he's European. And I like his show. He brings on a bunch of cool guests and he asks good questions. And he's got a cool story himself. He took a company public in the UK and made a bunch of money doing that. And now his main focus is the podcast. So yeah, so I really like that one. And then I think there was another one that I wanted to share, but now I'm not remembering it off the top of my head. But another thing I was reading this week is called, I think it's called Essentialism. I could look it up to make sure. But it's either called like the Essentialist or Essentialism or something. But it's similar to like the books, like the One Thing, stuff like that. But just kind of a different take on it. So I've been enjoying that so far. And it has some fun drawings in there too, which is one is like it has a circle and it has all these little mini arrows pointing out of the circle, like all around. and then it has a circle and it has one long arrow. And he's like, that's what happens when you focus on the one thing. So it's kind of another way of the one thing book, but it's a good book.
Yeah,
I like that one so far. And just talking about like that, just streamlining your focus, and more so talking about he's talking more so about the things that you should stop doing rather than what you should focus on. So I like that one so far.
yeah,
But yeah, I think those are my main two.
nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that body language stuff too. I wonder if it's the same woman. I watched a TED talk with a woman talking about body language stuff, and they talk about the different postures, right? Like the hands on your hips and your shoulders back is a really powerful posture, and just the different things you can do and how people read that subconsciously.
Yeah.
Really, really very interesting. I love the take about the words too, because I think I try and do that, but it's a good reminder, like just how you title your meeting or how you frame things that you're presenting to people. Because
Hmm.
it's perfect timing for you to share that, because I have been wanting to revamp my meetings with my team, because we do a team meeting, we do department meetings, and I want to shift the dynamic of me being the leader and the one who talks all the time, and I want it to be more collaborative, and I want more input from everybody else, and I want team members to step into their leadership. So like, how do I frame that? First of all, like, I'm thinking about revamping the format so that it encourages participation, but also how do I frame it or title it or describe it so that it does that? So that's a good piece for me, good, very
Yeah.
timely for me to hear. Because I don't want to be going through 2025 with me talking for 75 to 90% of the meeting. It's not serving me or the team for that to happen.
Yeah.
Um, I'm good at talking. I can talk. I have lots of ideas to share, but I want everyone to feel like they're participating and contributing and taking ownership of what we're talking about or working on.
For sure. Yeah.
And that, I guess, that would lead into, like, the Buy Back Your Time book that I've been reading and some of the other books that we read. I'm just finishing this up. Actually, you don't see the cover because I've got it in there as a bookmark, but just now he's talking about your 10x vision, but the whole book is about buying back your time and delegating and empowering, your team. And there's another book you gave me, Jasper, that I'm going to resume reading. I jumped right into that one, but Multipliers is all about that, like transformational leadership and what people do who really empower teams rather than people who, as Dan Martell would say in the Buy Back Your Time book, just you can tell people and check up on them, and then that's just a loop that never really goes anywhere for anybody, the leader
Yeah.
or the other person who's doing the task. Or you can empower people to find solutions and grow, and that's the environment I want to create, so people feel like they're thriving. So yeah, so that's what I've been reading. I've just been finishing up. I'm at the tail end of this, talking about the 10x vision, which is also a concept that we've heard other times from other people. I've got probably 10x. 10x is better than 2x from Dan Sullivan up here, which is great, and you can find that stuff on, like, YouTube also. He's got some good talks about that. But on Vivid Vision, which Jasper and you and I both do, this is the time of year to be thinking about all these things and revisiting, like, really creating the vision not only for the coming year, but what is my 5-year or even my 10-year vision, and then building from going backwards from there. Like, what does that incrementally mean for me now,
Yeah.
or what can I be doing to move myself in that direction, or what are the primary things I should be focusing on that I'm good at or that are in my area of strength that can help me get there, and what do I farm out to other people. So kind of I think we're both kind of in the end of year, assess the previous year and look ahead to the next year, frame of mind. Um, but yeah, I don't have any. I don't know how to look at my history on Spotify at a glance. I was picking up my phone trying to go, what did I listen to this week, and I can't grab it quickly. I'll have to figure out how to do that better on Spotify. But I can see I've got the iced coffee hour, I've got the book pile, I've got rethinking with Adam Grant. These are all in my list.
Yeah.
Um, and some Hormozy in here, but I don't have anything in specific. Mostly it's been the Dan Martell book, Buy Back Your Time, and then the Naval Ravikant, the how to be rich, I think is the title of his this one I've been listening to, which I really like.
Hmm.
And I recommend Naval for anybody. I just think the way he thinks about life, and one of the things he's inspired me to want to do too is just to read more about game theory, because he always talks about that And that's one last thing I'll say, and then I'll stop. Is just like one of the things I was listening to this week was about the idea of playing infinite games versus playing zero sum games, or he talks about the status game versus an infinite game. Like, a lot of people are doing what they're doing for status, and status is always a game where somebody has to win and somebody has to lose, because to be number one somebody has to be number two, right?
Yeah.
But then he talks about like people who are in Silicon Valley, who are VCs and stuff, who are really trying to do good in the world and become wealthy. They're trying to play an infinite game where everybody grows and everybody gets better and everybody gets wealthier. And like, instead of like baking one pie and going, this is how many pieces there are, his idea is we're trying to bake the bigger pie, just make the pie bigger and bigger, so that there's just more and more for everybody and more can participate. So like, I like that idea of trying to play infinite games rather than zero sum games, which is limited games, or um, like status games, which is I have to win for you to lose, rather than how do we both win and both grow. So
Mhm.
that's where I want my mind to be. So that's all I've got.
Nice.
So that's inspiration and education. And then the next segment we normally do is to check in about our businesses and KPIs and what's going on in the world of real estate investing. And we normally both just will check in about any highs or lows or gains or victories in our businesses, also KPIs. And then sometimes out of that will come some topics of stuff we've learned, or tips or tools, things like that. So Jasper, you want to lead us off with that?
Yeah, definitely. So this week was pretty good. We got 4 contracts signed this week.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. I mean, it was a win and a loss for me. I need to still work on our contract process, pre-contract, because these 4 contracts are not really super exciting for me. I think probably one of them is exciting, so that's a bummer.
Yeah.
And so I think
Feel
just definitely going into next year, I need to focus on improving that, and just shifting the focus away from contracts and just towards closings, because
Yep.
not to say that these deals can't close, and hopefully we'll close them all, but like 2 of these are in Eden, North Carolina, so that's like in the middle of nowhere. It's by Virginia. It's not really a good market.
Yeah.
Um, and then we got another one in Bailey, which I've actually never heard of. So it's the same thing. It's just like these small markets, and then yeah, so just like not super exciting contracts, but hopefully we'll still be able to close them and help the sellers out. But these are not contracts that are like beef up our numbers in terms of like being big deals and what we're shooting for. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of a challenge when I see that. It's kind of a bummer. But I'm still happy that we're cranking. We got 7 so far in December for contracts, so that's good. And got our last full week, obviously next week. So hopefully we'll get a few more good ones. But overall, it's still a win to get those contracts. It means our team is still crushing it, making consistent offers and doing their thing. So that's good. And it takes the same amount of effort to get a good deal as a bad deal. So we just need to shift that focus, and we'll and we'll start seeing better results, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was that. Those are the numbers on the contracts for solds. We didn't get any sold this week. We are still waiting on pictures for 3 of those 4. So hopefully we'll get some more sold next week. And then we did close one this week, which is awesome. And
Nice.
that one, thank you. And that one was great because we contracted way back in August. So I'm sure I've shared on this show before, but this year has been probably my longest like timelines on my deals. It's been very interesting, but I've just had so many deals that are taking 5, 6 months to close. And so this one was about 5 months. But
Wow.
I'm really happy we were able to get it closed. And it was another story that actually worked out in my favor. But we contracted in August, and we thought the sellers were going to be ready to go in like 60 days or so, kind of what they told us, and then ended up being 5 months. But we were helping them, sending them properties to move into because they need to buy a new house so that they could, move out. So eventually they did find one that they liked, and they're scheduled to close next week. So we did a post-possession. I don't know if we talked about that live on our show before, but just in case anyone, it might be helpful for anyone. Post-possession is when you give a seller some time after closing to move the rest of your stuff out and move into their new place. And we do that on pretty much every single deal that we have that's owner occupied. And I think the sellers definitely appreciate that. I would recommend for anyone who's listening to, start your negotiations with like 7 days. Tell them that it's kind of company policy that you'll give them 7 days after closing. And then, you can kind of negotiate from there. But I've done it up to 30 days, but typically that's going to shrink your buyer pool drastically if it's that long. Most buyers don't want to take on that risk. So
And how do you withhold some of their funds also until they're out?
yeah, so what we do is we have them sign a, post-possession agreement, which clearly spells out everything. And so what we do to try to ensure that things go smoothly is obviously we set a timeline and we'll make sure that it's 7 calendar days so that they can't get confused with business days or something like that. But then we'll say like the seller has until this date at 5 p.m. to, vacate the property. In exchange, we'll typically do sometimes if it's on a more expensive property, we'll do like a percentage so that it's kind of easier to sell to the homeowner. But we'll never do less than 10,000. So they'll need to have at least 10,000 of their funds, held back. And then we'll also make sure that there's a fee for any day beyond the agreed upon time frame. So for example, if the seller was supposed to move out in 7 days and took them twice that long, we typically go pretty aggressive on this fee. So typically it's $250 per day. And so
Wow.
in that case, I'll just say 10 days to make it easy math. If they went 10 days beyond, it would be 2,500 bucks deducted from their 10K, and that money just goes to the buyer to help with their
That's in
whole
the
costs.
post-possession agreement.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
that with that, I've had a couple sellers go 1 or 2 days beyond, but I've never had an issue, beyond a day or two. So yeah, so just wanted to touch on that because I don't know if I've done that before, but in case
No,
that's
I don't
helpful
think
for
you have.
anyone.
That's good. That's a good one.
Yeah, so I mean, I would obviously never do that with tenants, but with owner occupied, you can do it. And so that way, they're incentivized to move out and the buyer understands, there's protection there for them as well. So, obviously if they were to just totally not leave, then the buyer would get the entire 10,000 and that would help them evict them. So, that's
Yeah.
the idea there. So yeah, that's what we do. And definitely helps especially on the front end, like negotiating with seller, if they might have like 4 or 5 different offers, but if you're the only one that's saying, oh, we'll give you 1 week or 2 weeks after closing, then that's a big selling point that can help them go with you. So that's one thing I've noticed, but
Yeah, that's a good tip.
yeah. And so this one we did that with, and like I said, it was back in August that we contracted it. We sold it fairly quickly, and then the buyer totally ditched us. And so good news is we found another buyer at a higher price. So that was a victory because in most of the cases that this happens, we find a buyer at a lower price because the markets kind of went down. But this time we found a buyer at a higher price, and he's a great buyer too. So that was really good. Like I almost didn't believe that. I almost didn't believe like he was going to close this whole time because of how smooth everything was. Like it was very interesting because I'd never worked with
That's
this
nice
person
when you
before.
when you get one that's that smooth. It's like,
Yeah.
whoa, this can be this easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I never worked with this guy before, and so I was like, obviously, you don't know what you're gonna get, but like he offered us full price on this deal when all of our other offers were coming in like 10K below, and I was like, that's kind of weird. And then like we set up a walkthrough for him and everything, and there was no like most buyers after the walkthrough they'll try to beat you down on price or something. There was none of that, and I was like, that's weird. So that was like two weird things, and then we're getting closer to closing, and it was like I don't know 2 or 3 days before closing, and the attorney was like what is he, does he have a lender? Like, is he close? Like, we haven't gotten any information. I was like, oh shoot, like now this is the issue that I was waiting for. And then he's like, oh no, I'm just paying cash. And I was like, oh, so that's another. I was like, oh, that's three. And then on the day before closing, they sent out the HUD and they were like, can you please approve this, like review this? And they didn't hear back from him. And I was like, oh man, maybe he's like changed his mind or something. And then on the day of closing at like I don't know, 9:30, he just shot us a message and he's like, oh, just wire the funds, sign the HUD, and then thanks guys. And I was like, oh. So it was like it was very weird. Like I think he's just a super busy guy. So he just doesn't, update everyone as he's going along, but super smooth closing. So I hope we can find
Nice.
him more deals. But yeah, it was
Great.
really smooth, but like I was on the edge of my seat also because it was too smooth. It was weird. I've always feel like I have to expect some sort of issues, but that's probably
Yeah.
my own issues that I need to work on.
Well, it's also, yeah, it is some right, your upper limit problem or whatever that is, but it's also
Yeah,
some just experience, right?
yeah.
There are buyers who are more challenging than others.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll send this guy to you. He's in Rocky Mount, so if you get anything in that area, I don't know if he's buying land, but he's definitely buying houses. So if you get anything in
Cool.
that area, I'll definitely connect you with him. He's a good guy. So that inspired me to actually do some more marketing there because it's not a county that I focus too much effort on. But yeah, this was a great deal all around. So that was great.
I wonder if I
Um,
know that guy because I met a guy in at a RIA meetings that invests in Rocky Mountain. He buys, like single family homes and renovates them, and I think he keeps them as rentals.
yeah, that's what he's doing. So maybe same guy, but yeah, I can text you after the show. Um, but yeah, so that was good. That was our closing for this week, closing breakdown. We had another one scheduled to close, but apparently the buyer is living in Italy. So it would have been nice to know that maybe 3 weeks ago. We've been in escrow for a month, but that's okay. So we'll see if we can close that before Christmas. I sure hope so. But I don't really know. So if not, I'll probably put it back on the market. And at this point, now it's been so long that I can accept FHA buyers. So that would be nice. And then I can probably get it sold. So that'll be the game plan if I can't close it next week, but hopefully we can. We will see. Um,
What's the issue with him being in Italy? Is it just getting documents back and forth?
Yeah, it's just getting documents signed. So I don't know if that's just like they're blowing smoke or if that's actually an issue. This one, like I shared, is I sold to New Western, so they're working with their buyer. I'm not working directly with the buyer. So he told me that this buyer is legit and they've closed with him before and all this stuff. And so if that's the case, then you should have known he lived out of the country. But whatever. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. And then we got two. Actually, no, three scheduled to close next week. So hopefully all three of those will close. We'll see. One of them, I think, is a guaranteed close on Monday. We've got all the docs in and everything. And that's the one I shared on the last pod that we work with Require Title Solutions to clear that one up. And so now it's all cleared up. And, the seller was super excited because I kind of let her get surprised by it in a good way because
Yeah.
she was reaching out to me and she was like, can you pay the back taxes and give this? And I was like, no, we never agreed on that. I was like, we've already spent months and money like trying to clear this up. But anyways, she wasn't mean about it. She's a really nice lady. But so I was just basically like, no. And then when she got the HUD, she was so excited that she called us and she was just like, oh my God, you guys just made my whole decade. Like, oh my God, she was just so happy because
That's
she
cool.
thought she had a loan for 65,000 and we wiped it out. And so now she's getting full, amount. We were in a contract for 70,500 and there were like 4,000 of back taxes. So she was expecting to make $1,000 and now she's making
Oh,
six,
wow.
now she's making $67,000.
Wow.
And so that's a huge, right before Christmas, we're hoping to close tomorrow. So I'm really excited that we were able to do that for
That's awesome.
her.
That's so awesome.
So yeah, like I said, she was literally gonna be happy with like $1,500 and now she's making 66, 67,000, something like that. So pretty crazy. Um, and all thanks to that company Require, and I only had to pay them $500, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that one's supposed to close next week, and then we got another one that appears to be solid for next week as well. And then we've got a third one that's kind of shaky, so we'll see about that. And then I had a fourth one that I was hoping to close next week. That's total not gonna happen. So we lost that one to a short sale. But the good thing is I just met that short sale broker not long ago, so I'm going to reach out to him and see if we can still save that deal. But basically, the payoff came in two payoffs, 112,000, and our contract price with her is 95, and
Mm,
our buyer is not even paying close to 112. It's not like a home run for us, and so there's no way to really make that happen. So we're going to try to do the short sale for her and see if that'll work. So yeah, but that was kind of a bummer because we lost that deal at least from closing this year, maybe sometime next year. Uh, but we'll see about that. And yeah, so that's kind of the cliff notes for me. But two closings for sure, hopefully three next week. So that'd be good.
nice.
Yeah, to finish off the month. Um,
So
and
how many do you
then
have per month so far?
just two. So looks like we'll get 4 or 5 this month.
Yeah, we started off the month thinking we could do 8, and now we'll see where we end up, but I think we're ahead of you right now, though. We make it a little competition.
That's all good. I'm not, I mean, I don't have time to put any more in escrow, so you guys will definitely win.
Oh, I don't know. We'll see. Let's because we've closed. Trying to see how many we closed this month so far. So we've closed 3 so far,
Yeah.
I think. No, we closed 4 because the one of them didn't get marked down yet. We closed 4 so far,
Oh yeah, I
and
can't compete with that. No way.
we've got between 2 and 4 still we can close. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
that's awesome.
Yeah. But then again, a couple of those are low value. So if we were competing on revenue, you'd probably still beat us. A
Yeah.
couple more just, you know, land deals that we didn't make a lot on. But hey, I'm not complaining. We closed them. We made some money. It's fine.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, well, I'm thinking realistically four, but we're working on this fifth one. It's just the sellers are uh interesting, interesting sellers. But we'll see. We'll see. But then other than that, we had kind of a bummer because I had this pretty awesome deal we were gonna make a huge profit on. And then they like the I guess maybe it was in the will or something, but they had like an estate attorney, or maybe not even an estate attorney, like an attorney that was hired to handle the estate essentially. And so we didn't know that beforehand, but we went under contract with the sellers, and it was three siblings. They inherited this property, went under contract on it, sold it, all this stuff. And then there's one sibling that lives in one of the properties, so it's a package deal. That's why it was a great profit. But he lives in one of the properties, and then the other two live in Missouri, so they're out of state. And so the one dude, when we went to actually look at the property, he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, this attorney is like handling the sale." And I was like, "Oh, well, that would have been nice to know beforehand." And so then I reach out to this attorney, and he's like, "We're in a contract for 109." And I reach out to him, and I'm like, "Hey, just let me know. Here's the contract. We're hoping to close in January. Like, let me know anything you need." And then he gets back to me. He's like, "Nope, I'm not gonna sign off on this. You have to increase your offer to 310,000.
Yeah.
That's the value of these properties." And I'm like, "Well, it's nowhere even close to that. Like, even being generous, maybe these properties are worth like 175, maybe. If you were to list them on the market or something, maybe." And I guess he's just going off of the Zillow price or whatever. But so then that's just been kind of a challenge. So long story short, I think that's just a wash. But the sellers are frustrated as well because this dude is just, I don't know who hired him, because like they didn't even hire him apparently. But anyways, he's not responding to the seller or to me, and so he doesn't answer
You
calls.
can't fire him and just go on their own.
Yeah, he doesn't answer calls, and he doesn't answer my emails. And he doesn't answer their
Why,
calls
why do they have to go through him? Is
because this is just in the will, like it's in the will or something. But
oh,
so this dude, he gets 5%, so that's why he wants us to pay 300K, because he gets 5%. And so I told him, I was like, "Dude, we'll pay your commission. Like, I'm happy to pay you." And I told him, I'll even pay your commission on a $300,000 sale. I'm not coming up to 300. Like, it's just not even close. Like, these properties are trash. And he's just totally not working with us at all. So it's interesting. That was my first time dealing with something like
that's a
that.
great offer. I mean, if you would pay him on what he wants it to sell for, what does he care? He's going to get the money he would get out of it. So,
Yeah, I don't get
I
it.
mean, that's a really good offer for him.
Yeah.
Unless he like is friends of the family and really wants to do right by the kids and make sure they get the most money out of it or something.
Yeah, but they're reasonable, and they understand, how bad these properties are in condition wise. And they were, this is actually an online lead. And so the homeowners, the sellers came to us, and they were asking 120. So we just negotiated down a little bit. But they were asking 120. So it's not like they were asking 250 and we got them down to like 200. It was like they were asking 120. So they were happy with that, and they're happy with what we agreed on. But now this dude's getting in the way. Um, and so yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I can salvage that. But I guess that's what kind of my main challenge right now, because that was going to be a nice deal for us. But
Yeah,
we will see. So then another update for me, I am totally ditching cold calling, and I'm going back to PPC. So I'm gonna launch that next week and
that's a
see
big
how
one.
that goes. Um, so yeah, I'm excited about that. I was crunching my numbers, and Yeah, overall, I just
Not
made it.
making any money on cold calling.
Well, yeah, there's definitely that. I'm definitely not making any money, but the cash conversion cycle is just ridiculous. So I'm gonna hopefully crush it with PPC and and we'll see how that goes. But basically, I'll just share my numbers because I was doing my year end review and the year's not over quite yet. But so lead to
It's just
close
funny because
average.
I just looked at Call Geeks and we're just like barely making a profit on Call Geeks, if at all.
Yeah, same here. Yeah,
ROI is like 1 point something,
yep,
right?
same here. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, our ROI was call gigs was about 2x, so about double, which is pretty terrible. And so the lead to close or the contract to close, not contract to close, I'm sorry, but the lead to close was 160 days for cold calling. And so I think that's like 8 months, 7, 8 months. So that's insane. So that means that right now my business is already in like July of next year, which is ridiculous. And so when I saw that, I was like, yeah, no, I was like, I'm going back to PPC. And so when I looked and compared to the numbers, I was like, last year, my PPC was about the same, right? It was a 2x. And that's why I cut it because I was like, why am I spending all this money to get a 2x? But my PPC is 45 days. So if I get a 2x in 45 days, then realistically, I'm getting a 6x in the same time frame because then I'm 2xing every 45 days rather than 2xing every 160 days, which is insane. And so I think that's correct math. It's like 3 times as short or 3 times as long. So either way, if I can 2x every 45 days rather than every 7 months, then my business grows faster. And so I was like, duh, like what a no-brainer for me. But anyways, so I'm going back into that and we're gonna launch next week. And obviously, he's shared with me there's a ramp up period and stuff like that. So hopefully we'll hit the ground running like by February is when we're starting getting consistency. We'll see. But I was just looking back at my data and I just realized that it was just a major fail by me. And I looked back through, the leads that I got. And one of the things that I thought was interesting was that I ran my own PPC with this company. I can shout them out. It's called Clicks Geek. And so I ran my own PPC with them. We got 101 seller leads and we got 8 contracts. And so when you look at that, um, that's really good. That's like 12, I think, 12 and a half or something leads per contract. Whereas with cold calling and texting, I'm at like 60 or 70, which is insane. And so in this case, if every 12 leads bring me a contract, that's fantastic. Then all I need to do is get like 100 leads a month. That's like 8 contracts a month. So that's fantastic just in itself. And then the cash conversion cycle is shorter. And then one thing I noticed going back through it this weekend is that compared to the pay per lead services that I've been using, so which is also an interesting finding for myself. But compared to those sources, these leads are much better, much more intent, I should say. And I noticed that because when I look back through these, so I can pull it up right now. But when I look back through these, out of 101 leads, let me get the exact number, but it's something like half sold. And so that means that these people are going to sell their property, whether it's to us or on the market or whatever. And so I look back through and I think it's like maybe not half, but I think it's like 40 people sold separate from the ones that we got under contract and closed. So that means that basically, half of those leads, half of those 100 leads were sellers that were ready to sell and did sell. And so that shows me that they were actually doing their job. And I just kind of didn't take a great look at the data myself. But they were bringing, hot leads. And I think about half of those were listed on the market with an agent. I went back to the sales history and, they were listed on the market. So not
Are you
something
going
they
back
could
to
have.
the sales history, like Zillow or something?
Yeah, just on Zillow. And so about half of those people that did sell, they were listed on the market, but I could still maybe get a piece of that if I referred these leads to, one of my realtor friends, maybe I can get a kickback or something. So there's that. But then the other half I checked, they were sold to investors. And so I saw the price because it was sold for a lower price and then, listed in a few months and sold for a higher price. And so we just missed on about half of those. And so you're not going to get every deal, but if we were to just get, a few more, then it would have totally boosted up my ROI there. So anyways, that's kind of a long-winded thing, but I'm going back into
No, that's
PPC.
really good information. And so the reason you canceled PPC previously was the 2x ROI, right? That was why you were
Yeah,
like, spending a bunch of money, I'm getting 2x. Why am I doing this? But then, like you said, it makes a whole lot more sense if you're getting 2x, or in the case of my company, less than 2x on cold calling, but you're getting a longer conversion cycle, a longer closing
yeah,
cycle. Why not do the one that closes a lot faster, or that converts a lot faster. And then you're
Yeah.
seeing higher quality of leads overall because of the number of people that are actually selling, that are coming in from leads. And did you do a comparison test with cold calling leads to see what the percentages of those people who are selling, or are you just looking at the percentage on this, on
I
the
didn't do
people?
that just because there's so many more leads that
Yeah.
I
No, I
don't
was
have.
just wondering. I was just wondering. I don't know if there's a quick way to do it, but just
Yeah.
curious to see like how many tire kickers are there with cold calling versus PPC, or other SMS. I think with SMS you get a lot of tire kickers, right? Just send me the offer, and they're trying to
Yeah,
compare your offer with 3 other people's offers.
definitely. Yeah, I
But
mean, I
yeah,
could go.
well, that's great information. That's really cool to hear your process on that, because as I said, and I'll share when I check in on our business, we have been noticing a similar thing with cold calling. So
Yeah. But yeah, we
yeah.
got 1454, 18. Yeah, so we're at 80 leads to contract with cold calling. And so that's why I didn't do this study myself, because it's 1450 leads. That's a lot of leads to go through. But
Yeah.
I could take a glance at it overall and see how many of those sold from cold calling. But
You could
um,
also have a admin assistant do it.
yeah, but yeah, so that's what I noticed. And then also going into my pay per lead thing, which I'm still signed up for one of these companies, but I had like terminated with the other company that's pay per lead. So this actually showed me some good data too, that these are good leads too. So I got 30 leads from a company called needtosellmyhousefast.com. It's a great website. So I got 30 leads and 4 contracts. And so that's less than 1 in 10. And so even just looking at that, like I always would write them off because I was like, oh, like they're not sending us good leads, or sometimes they'll send us leads and it's like just a real estate agent who submitted a form and they're like just want an offer or something. I'm like, oh, this place sucks. But looking at the data, 30 leads and 4 contracts, that's fantastic. That's like 1 in 9 or 1 in 8. So that's great.
But the cost per lead is pretty high on that, right?
It's much lower than the PPC when I run it myself. So our average cost per lead is 135 bucks. And with my PPC, it was about double that. But so this one, 135 bucks cost per lead. But again, if we're doing let's say 1 out of 10 just for easy math, and that's like 1350. It's not bad. It's actually really cheap. And so that's what I was looking at, because I was looking at the wrong data really, essentially. Because I was looking at, okay, my cost per lead for cold calling and texting is much cheaper. But what's my cost per deal? Because if it takes me 80 cold call leads, even if they only cost me 10 bucks, then it's still 800 bucks. That's a bad example, but they don't cost
Really,
10
cost
bucks.
per closed deal is a better KPI, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was looking at, because overall on this is a pay per lead service that I mentioned, but 2000 is our cost per deal. And that's cheaper than cold call and text. And so I'm just looking at the front end costs, like, ouch, every time I get charged, because it's like 150 bucks every time I get charged. I'm like, oh man. Like, and then when we don't close the lead, I'm like, damn, I just wasted 150 bucks. But really, I'm not. When you look at the big picture, 2000 cost per deal is great. That means even if I only make 10K on a deal, which we hope to make more, even only at 10K, that's a 5x. Even if we only make 10K on a deal, that's a 5x return on a cost per deal. So that was just very interesting
Yeah.
when I was looking at the data over again.
Yeah. So I guess for people listening, it's just like KPIs are really important to grow your business and to grow it efficiently and as rapidly as possible. And this is a great example of like you can look at the wrong thing and really not, you know, like you said, if you're looking at your cost per lead, you could be really thrown off. But if you're looking at your cost per closed deal, that's just a much better way to look at it. I think that's true in a lot of
Absolutely.
areas, like we talked about. You talked about at the top of your check-in, Jasper, with the contracts. Like you can look at contracts, but the quality of contracts can vary widely. So, you know,
Yeah.
we've both been talking about finding a better way to monitor and improve how we're contracting properties and what the quality is and how to measure quality. So anyway, so I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to point that out.
No, it's a great point. That's a great point. And then I look at my other one, which I actually just terminated, and so I might have to sign up again for these people. But I don't think I get them enough sample size. But either way, we got 18 leads from this other pay per lead company, which is same thing. So just real quick for anyone who's not familiar, you just sign up for these websites, you plug in your credit card, and you plug in the counties that you're interested in. So it can be nationwide, anywhere across the country. And basically, anytime they get a lead in that county, if you are the top bidder, so you have to set your bid per county. But if you're the top bidder, then they'll send that lead directly to you and they'll charge you once they send you that lead. So for example, if I was bidding $100 for a county in North Carolina and they find a lead, a seller submits an online form, they'll charge me $100 and they'll send me the lead. And obviously, once that happens, you spent $100, so try to make the most of it. But that's kind of the way it works. So you don't have to go through the process of actually setting that up for yourself, Google Ads yourself. But anyways, this other company is called propertyleads.com, just super simple. And we got 18 leads from them. And we have one contract that's in escrow right now. And so I guess that would be 1 out of 18. But just looking real quick, because it's a very small sample size. Same thing that I noticed with my PPC, which is that these leads are very good quality, because out of 18, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sold besides the one we contracted. So 6 out of 18 sold. Yeah, so that means these people are serious, and that's about 1/3 out of the leads that came through that already sold. And we've only been working with this company this year, so that means that they sold within the last 6 months, and that's pretty interesting. So, anyways, I think I might have to sign back up with these people and see how that goes too. But I think I'm just gonna put a more focus on the online leads going forward, because like I said, the reason I didn't is because on the front end, it's more painful because these larger things or larger expenses.
Every time you don't get that contract, you're like, man, there goes $150.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you really look at the numbers and go, hey, it's costing me this much to do a deal with cold callers every time, then it maybe becomes less painful. It's just more in your face with the PPC.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, but maybe that's not a bad thing, because then it makes you treat the leads more, with more care. So maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's it. I'll have to report back in a few months, see how it goes. But just wanted to update you and anyone who's listening that that's what I'm going with. I'm not abandoning SMS because it's a very long cash conversion cycle, but our return is very good. So I'm still going to keep that. But the cold calling, to have a long cash conversion cycle and a bad return, I'm just not doing that. So yeah, I'm just going to take that money that we were spending on Call Geeks and dump that into PPC, like I said, starting next week. And then we'll see, if it goes well, I might cancel one of my launch control accounts, because I have multiple. I might cancel one of those and allocate those funds over as well. So we'll see how it goes.
That's great information. That's really cool to hear what you're thinking about and how you're looking at it and what your numbers are and everything. And it's a good, it's a good point. I mean, I guess, if we're talking to people who are just starting out, it might be a little bit expensive to set up PPC or pay per lead right now, but just the knowledge that cold calling is maybe not the most effective long-term strategy for marketing, at least right now. You will get leads with cold calling and you will convert leads to deals, but both of us have had kind of a low return on investment for that. So if you're starting out, it's probably still a great strategy. Like Jasper's mentioned on previous episodes, get a multi-dollar dialer and talk to a lot of people, and you will have a better conversion rate probably if you're decent at sales and talking to people when you're talking to leads yourself rather than having, a VA talk to them. But then, once you have a little extra money, maybe look at some PPC or, get an SMS account. I mean, I think the SMS accounts start at like 500. So you can be sending bulk texts, with Launch Control or Smarter Contact for around $500 a month on a plan, and getting leads that way too. So those are probably the first two steps, is like, cold calling yourself and then getting an SMS account. And then, but then when you have a little bit extra money, maybe it's PPC. And we'll talk, I'm going to talk a little bit about direct mail too in my check-in. So we can discuss that too as an option for leads.
Yeah.
Another marketing channel. But that's great info. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else before we switch over?
No, all good.
All right. Well, I'll roll into my weekly business check-in. We had one close this week, and that was a piece of land, and it was a good deal. The sold to close timeline was 9 days, so we sold it and closed 9 days later. So that's always really nice. These are new buyers that we're working with that Derek, my brother and dispo manager, feels really good about. He feels like they're solid, and as pair of guys that he just has a good feeling about. So hopefully we can do more deals with them. That's always nice. And I reported 2 closed last week, but we actually closed 3, but one of them we didn't get reported to us. And then We didn't get paid until this week. So however you want to look at it, we either closed 3 last week and 1 this week, or 2 last week and 2 this week. But we're at
That's
4
great.
closed for the month of December so far. So that's nice.
That's awesome.
We have somewhere between 2 and 4 deals still on the ledger that could close before the end of this month. We've got somebody who
Nice.
wants to close on the 27th, so we'll see how that goes. But that's a little dicey. I don't know if the lawyer will be in to close, on the 27th or not. We'll see.
Yeah.
But maybe if not, they close on the 23rd. Who knows? Or wait, the 27th. I mean the 30th. 30th, yeah, the next Monday. So yeah, we got that. We sent out 41 offers this week, which is good for us. We've been kind of in the mid 30s, so 41 is a little bit higher. That's nice. We got 1 contract this week, and our newer acquisition specialist got that contract, so he's on a roll. I think he's got 1 last week and 1 this week, so that's good. And then other stuff, I don't have our leads because yeah. We're getting I think we got 20-ish leads from Call Geeks. We just talked about cold callers, and we're getting about 10 from our in-house callers. So we're probably 50 to 60 leads for the week, including SMS. Our SMS leads were a little bit low. Excuse me. Probably have to get a drink when I start talking a bunch tonight. That throat gets dry. So yeah, 1 contract and 2 closed and 41 offers. Those are the ones I'll stick with for now. And then another milestone, this would be another side topic we could touch on maybe in this episode or another episode, is just accountants and bookkeeping, right? We haven't talked a lot about this, but we met with an accountant this past week that we really liked, and we're going to go forward with him. So that's exciting because he's been in business for a long time, and he specializes in corporate tax, and he's a financial planner and an accountant. He's been a partner in the business he's in for 40 years. And he met with us personally on Zoom and took time with us and did not seem rushed or in a hurry, and wanted to learn about our business and everything. So I count that as a victory. We had a challenging accountant experience last year. So that's a win. And we got a bookkeeper that we're meeting with this week who also comes highly recommended. And hopefully we get the 2 of them on board and don't think about taxes and bookkeeping anymore for a while.
Yeah.
Because that as you grow, maybe in the beginning you bootstrap this stuff a little bit, but for me, as I've grown, it's really important to have very accurate profit and loss and know what we're spending money on. And we've the last couple of years, it's well, how much profit did we actually make? And it's frustrating to not have that really dialed in. So I'm excited about that. Another thing, I guess, if I'm doing KPIs, I can go through these deals a little bit that we have in escrow. We have one victory this week too, was that we finally had a breakthrough with a deal that I think we went under contract on in July, and it had an estate issue where the estate wasn't filed. And so Jasper, you referred me to a guy, Terrell, and he's been helping us with that.
Mhm.
But just this past week, we have had news from him that, the county has officially filed everything, and now he just has to publish for a couple of weeks. And that was a week ago. So I think this is the one we still have a chance to close on the 27th or the 30th of this month, because we're finally, coming down the home stretch after 6 months of being in escrow with a buyer who has been asking us every other week where we stand with it. But it's still a good profit deal for us for its piece of vacant land. And so that's a victory that we turned the corner. So thanks for that referral. Terrell's been really great. It's just the seller was dragging his heels a little bit. And then the county takes some time to process everything. And finally, we're at that point where we can actually sell it and close it.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, the other ones we have another one that we were supposed to close this coming week. And there's an ex-husband that somehow needs to sign now that we're trying to track down. We haven't been able to find this ex-husband. So that's delayed. But then we have 2 more that are looking solid to close on this week too. So we have 3 slated to close this week. The one has the ex-husband, and then we have the previous one I just mentioned, which is the estate, which we're just waiting on this publication. You have to publish in a public paper for I think 2 weeks before you can sell it. And then this Andy Street, we actually have, we have 3 that are delayed, and then 3 that are marked, 2 that are marked as good to go. So we have potentially 5 more deals that could close this month.
Nice.
But 3 of them have delays. So if you take 2 solids and 3 with delays, then we expect to close between 2, and if we're super lucky and we have Christmas miracles, 5 more this month.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So somewhere between 2 and 5 we should close, and that would put us at 6 to, we're at 4 right now, so 6 to 9 deals for December. That's
Sweet.
exciting.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then so I'll just touch a little bit on the direct mail thing too. We met with we work with a company called REI Print Mail, and we've worked also with Yellow Letter Shop. So if you're looking at direct mail, I've had good experience with both of those, but I do like REI Print Mail better because they have great service, and they have you'll be assigned a rep when you work with that company, and they will talk you through what types of letters are working in your market. And they actually, I found out this week in meeting with the guy who's been my rep for years. I started doing direct mail in 2021. Got promoted to vice president of the company.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's kind of cool. And so, yeah, I had scheduled a meeting with him online to meet with him and with my operations manager and my acquisitions manager. And then he wasn't on the meeting when we jumped on. I'd sent him a Zoom link and stuff. And I called the company, and they got him right on the phone. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And he jumps on, and he was like, "Just so you know, I don't know what happened, but they promoted me to vice president. So I'm still here for you, and I'll always be here if you call me or whatever. But I am going to give you a rep who specializes in North Carolina and actually invests in land in North Carolina and knows the market really well." So that was cool. He spent like 30 minutes with us on the phone, just talking to us about what's working in direct mail and specifically in our market. And because they do so much stuff, do so much volume of direct mail with investors, they have a lot of data in their system about which letters are working, which postcards are working, response rates and open rates. And they also have a service within their company where they will take the calls for you if you're an investor. So you can like buy the list and choose the letter or the postcard, and then they'll take the calls in and forward you the leads. So they even have more data because of that, because they're a lot of the times the ones answering the phone and forwarding the leads to the investor. So it's really cool to sort of pick his brain and get an idea of what's going on in direct mail, and what conversion rates are, what response rates are, what the cost of letters are and stuff like that. But the other thing I learned is they have so one of the things that they do that's successful, and we've tried it just once, and I'd have to look back at that campaign to see how we did, but one of the things that's successful right now and in North Carolina is you send a letter that looks like it's a check, and you can see the check through the window, and people open it
Yeah.
up, an offer, and it's like, this could be the check for your property. Give us a call. And what's cool now is they have a company in-house, or they have a partner called Priced, PRYCD, and that company will take your list. I think they actually will pull, skip trace your list, and then generate the offer amount based on the market. And then you can have that all packaged in. I think it's like 12 cents per letter that they do that service for, right? So you've got a list, pull, a data point pull, a skip trace, and an offer generated for 12 cents per, which is not bad, because we pay like 6 cents per skip tracing, and that's not including the cost of pulling the list, or if
Yeah.
we generate an offer, which can save our acquisitions person a lot of time, because they'll basically generate. He said that they'll assess the values, and they've gotten really good at it, and then they'll generate an offer, and they'll offer like 50 or 60% of what they estimate as retail. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's cool information. So he was saying that that's the number one thing that's working right now is what they call a check offer letter, and they're getting a 1% response rate on that. And that's up since when I was last doing direct mail. You're going to pay about 90 cents per letter on that, including postage. And then the second most successful thing that they've had in North Carolina, and they can give this. I'm not affiliated with this company. I'm just sharing this stuff because I'm excited about it. But you can send out a postcard, which is called a soft offer postcard, and it's like a postcard. Hey, sorry I missed you. We're looking at properties in your area. Like give us a call if you're thinking about selling, and it might have an offer or ballpark offer on it. But that costs only like 60 to 70 cents per item, and you get a 0.8% response rate based on his data. So it's similar to what you were talking about, Jasper. Like I might send more postcards to get a little bit better response rate, but it's going to cost me a lot less per postcard. So that might be the most efficient way to do it. I'm going to crunch the numbers on that. But if I'm getting
Mhm.
a 0.8% response rate on postcard, but it's only costing me 60 cents, and I'm getting a 1% response rate on a letter, but it's costing me 90%, I'm probably better off sending the postcard as a test and doing that. Right.
Yeah.
That's so anyway, those are the top two strategies. And so this kind of ties in with the earlier conversation we were having, because you talked about your frustration with uh, cold calling and call geeks, and like diving into the numbers and then deciding to go with different marketing strategies in the coming year. And that's kind of where I've been too, is like, I think I might go back to direct mail because, and I can't give all the data because I haven't done my deep dive as much as you. I have all the tabs open on my computer right now, like for all our direct mail stuff, but I have to sort of, uh, you know, aggregate the data. But anyway, I know that we got a better response rate and a better conversion rate with direct mail than we're getting with cold calling. But I will back it up with data once I look at all these tabs and crunch the numbers a little bit. Um, and so the cost, it's a similar thing with PPC that you're saying. It gets a little scary when you send out a direct mail campaign with, let's say, 4,000 pieces at 90 cents each, and you're spending, what's 4 times 9, $3,600. You're spending $3,600 on that campaign, but you're getting a 1% response rate on that. So then you're getting, what, 40 leads. And then the conversion rate on those leads on direct mail, I know, is much higher than it is on SMS or cold calling, just from experience. And I can't
Yeah.
tell you off the top of my head, but even those sellers tend to be stronger. And I'm sure if I did the similar study to what you did with your how many people have sold, when sellers answer a letter and say, "Yeah, I want to sell my place," they're ready to sell. They're
Yeah.
calling you up. It's inbound marketing, which is a really nice thing too. And Matt Larson talks about inbound marketing. When you have somebody calling you and saying, "Hey, I'd really like to sell my house and I got your letter. Can we talk?" That's a very different conversation than somebody who's like, "Oh, these freaking cold callers calling me, or these SMS people. I'm going to just see what they have to say." It's a totally different attitude with that seller, and
Yeah.
conversion rate is higher. Your ability to cement that bond with the seller is higher, and keep that rapport through closing is much higher with an inbound lead, in my experience. So it's funny that we're both coming to this mastermind with similar ideas about where we're headed, and how we're feeling about cold calling, and what's
Yeah.
next. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Like I said, I'm not an affiliate with REI Print Mail, but I've had a good experience with them, and I think that their service, you can't ever underrate service with a company, because at the end of the day, spending a little bit more money, even if it is, I don't even know if it's more money, but it's totally worth it when you get service that's really high quality. And these
Mhm.
guys have been around for a while. I think I originally heard about this company from Steve Trang. Like, the guy who founded the company was on um, Steve Trang's podcast,
Nice.
and that was like years ago when I was just starting out, and then I was called them up and started working with them. But yeah, so that's the direct mail piece, sort of similar to what you were talking about with PPC. Uh, and then other than that, we talked about finances, but maybe we talk about that in another meeting, the accounting and bookkeeping piece.
Yeah.
But I would say it's important. I would say if you're like me and you're an entrepreneurial brain that doesn't like the detailed stuff and the accounting and bookkeeping stuff, get that farmed out as quick as you can, because it really does help to have your numbers, and that includes your financial numbers in front of
Mhm.
you. I've got a great book that is helpful too. I don't know if you know this one, Jasper, Accounting for the Number Phobic. You know that book?
Oh.
It's cool because it's a survival guide for small business owners, and it really just simplifies accounting for business for somebody who's not really inclined that way. And it's fun
Mhm.
because it's got just fun illustrations like you were talking about. They're just, and she compares like the different reports to your gauges on your car, and just like helps you get your brain. Like, she's like, here's the balance sheet. It's like your radiator, right? Here's the profit and loss. It's like your gas. Like, here it is. It's like, your net income, your cash flow, your balance sheet. Those are the ones, and these are your gauges, and that's why you need to know them. And so it's like just dumbing it down for people who don't want to know how to be their own bookkeeper or accountant, but want to know what's going
Mhm.
on. So
Yeah.
I recommend that book to anybody who's in that category.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I think that's about it. I think that's all I have for my business check-in for now.
All right. Yeah, that's great feedback about the direct mail. Now I'm interested in doing that check thing. That sounds really cool. I think I might have
Yeah,
got
and
one of those
I'll tell
before.
you, I'll dig down into the campaign that we recently did with that because we did one, I think the end of last year, maybe. Anyway, I've got a campaign where we did that check letter, and
Oh yeah.
I think we sent 3 or 4 thousand pieces, so it should be a decent sample size just to see what ended up happening with that.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to break down some numbers this week, so I'll be able to share more about our success or our results with it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we're coming down the home stretch here. This is appreciate everything you shared, Jasper. It's good information for me, and hopefully, it's bringing value to people who are listening to this as well. And as always, if you're listening or watching the podcast, we appreciate your feedback, comments, suggestions for ways to improve the podcast or topics you'd like to hear more about. We're pretty much an open book. Like, we'll share anything. We're just here to help and try and help other people succeed in wholesaling and change their lives, right? Because it really can change your life to start making some bigger checks from real estate.
Yeah.
Jasper, you're a prime example, from Bojangles to your first closed deal.
Yep.
Jasper was working at Bojangles when he learned about wholesaling, and he was like, "Really? I can make an extra 5,000 a month?" And then the rest is history. Now he's making a ton of money a month just doing wholesale deals. But yeah, so please give us any feedback and let us know how we're doing and let us know how we can help, and we'd like to see more of. And thanks for listening. Over and out.